you check the children? Show a little match sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes. That is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil, Laird, and I'm here to do a review of the brand new horror movie that is coming your way very soon called Immaculate. Immaculate was directed by Michael Mohan. It was written by Andrew Lobel, and it was starring Sydney Sweeney, Alvaro Morte, and Simona Tabasco. So this movie is one that I think we did do, I know we did a trailer reaction to a while back, and usually religious type horror doesn't really get me too excited or anything, but this one had me interested. And so when but I wasn't like overly excited about it. So I went in with relatively minimal expectations, and I tell you what, this movie is a really well done film. My overall thoughts, as we do our overall thoughts, and then the story, the acting, the effects. By the way, I'm going to put a link to the trailer in the comment or in the description box below, so that way if you want to watch clips, just pull it up in another window, because otherwise I have to deal with, you know, copyright issues and whatnot. So this film is very much worth your time. Do you have to rush to the theaters to see it? Probably not, to be honest with you. It is definitely worth your time, so put it on your list to watch at least at home once it becomes available, but it's not necessarily one of those that has to be a theatrical experience. It is good in the sense that seeing this with a crowd is going to get a big reaction at least one part of the film. I can tell you that much. And I'm going to keep this review non-spoilery, of course, but seeing it with a crowd might be worth it for that one aspect. But otherwise, yeah, you can catch this one at home eventually, but you should definitely catch it. So this movie is just starting off with the story. It's about a young sister, or a young woman who is joining the convent. She is actually joining a particular convent in Italy that, you know, has, you know, very strong religious ties, of course, being a convent, but obviously being in Europe over there. And so she is just starting out. She's going to be taking her vows. She doesn't really know Italian all the way yet, so she kind of struggles to communicate with a lot of the people there. And she is just getting, you know, essentially getting her bearings and trying to become a good sister. And something happens one night, and basically she gets examined medically, and it's revealed that she's pregnant, but she hasn't been with anyone. And so that's the story it becomes about, but not everything is quite as it seems. And, you know, the question of how did this happen is one that's definitely addressed. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but that's as much as I really want to tell you in order to not spoil it. So, but it is a horror movie, so keep that in mind. It's not overly horrific. To my recollection, there was only one really blatant jump scare, but it was really effective. It got everyone in the crowd. That's not the audience reaction moment I meant to, or I was referring to earlier. That was just a jump scare moment. So, but that was really the only one of it, only one of those. Otherwise, the story. So my thoughts on the story itself is that it was interesting. It wasn't overly original. I'm not saying I've seen this exact story before, but stuff very similar to it, right? Woman becomes pregnant with mysterious child, and what is the child actually, kind of thing. And it's funny, with the first Omen coming only a couple weeks after this movie, it was giving off a lot of Omen vibes, but not exactly. Again, I'm not going to spoil it, but obviously it's a similar vibe if you watch the trailer. So the story was engaging, and I will say I was very this is going to be interesting to say if you watch the movie. I think you'll understand what I'm going for here. I enjoyed the ending because the ending is aggressive as hell. It's really aggressive, and I was surprised and happy that they went the way that they did, because going the other way, which was the way I thought they were going to go, would have been very much derivative and predictable. but this way was definitely interesting. So yeah, that the story I was pleased with. That is kind of the least pleasing part of this film, and that was a good part of it. So that, if that's any indication of the quality, the acting was great. The filmmaking I'm going to get into, that was, to me, the star of the film. But the stars themselves, Sydney Sweeney playing the lead, she was apparently in Madam Web. I didn't get around to seeing that. Aw, shucks. But apparently she played Spider-Woman, the Jessica Drew character. But this was my first exposure to her, to my knowledge, and she was great. She was very believable. She was very intense when she needed to be, and it was definitely a powerhouse performance. And everyone around her was really good too. There was absolutely no one that brought me out of the film. Everyone, just helped for the buy-in. Like I felt very much in the world with the characters that they presented, and not once was there like, ooh, that's an odd delivery. Again, most of it was in Italian. I mean, not most of it, but a lot of it was, and you had to read some subtitles. But that in and of itself makes it, for me at least, a little bit harder to identify bad acting. But yeah, it's it's really well done acting. There isn't a bit of bad acting that I could place at this point if I really even was forced to. The filmmaking, though, that is like I said, the star of the show. This is such a well-made movie. The cinematography is outstanding. The sound design is outstanding. The production design is fantastic. Everything was helped with the buy-in, but particularly the cinematography was silky smooth. It was gorgeous to behold. It was just really... Every shot was pleasing. Every shot was freeze frame worthy. The way I was always taught in school was that, for cinematography, you should be able to take any frame of the film and it should look like a pleasing photograph. And this definitely has that going for it, 100%. So I really enjoyed the cinematography. Again, the sound design was phenomenal, and it played a big part. It always plays a big part in horror movies, especially. The sound design is key for the horror and everything. I think the music was also fantastic because it helped amp up the moments that needed to be amped up. And I even noticed at one point, I was like, man, this music's really raising the tension right now. And so, it was really something to take note of, in my opinion. There wasn't a ton of gore, but they didn't shy away from the gore for sure. There's one pretty aggressive scene in particular that I was surprised at what they showed. I was like, damn, okay, shit, this is usually saved for like a Matthew Vaughn movie or something like that, or Eli Roth even. So there's something to please most horror fans in this, even if you're not a huge religious fan. And the biggest kudo I can give this film is that it's an hour and 29 minutes long. It is phenomenal. You're in, you're out. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's got a satisfying ending, and it doesn't need to be 2.5 hours like so many, so many horror movies, so many religious horror movies, are that way. This is less than an hour and a half, and even less if you don't stay through the credits, which I did not, so probably an hour 25. And it moves, it's lean and it's mean, and it's very effective. So that's pretty much as I want to say about this. Again, it's not, I definitely recommend you see it. If you have the money to go see it in the theater, I recommend you do so. If you don't have the money, if you're struggling, then I would say you're fine to wait until it's at home, because it's not a big budget spectacle Marvel kind of movie. So it's not something that has to be experienced in the theater, but it should be experienced if you're a horror fan. So yeah, that's going to do it for my thoughts on Immaculate. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If you've seen it, let me know what your thoughts are. If you haven't seen it, did this review sway you to go see it or not? I'd be interested to know what you guys are thinking. Thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the channel the way that you do. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird, and remember, stay scared.